Hi folks, Greeno here. Where am I today? Well, I'm still in New York, and today I've come to this place, Keens Steakhouse, otherwise known as Keens Chop House. This is a very, very famous restaurant here in New York City. We're a couple of blocks away from the Empire State Building, and they are famous for their steaks, more famous possibly for their mutton chop. Now, their mutton chop is a great hulking piece of meat. It weighs about 26 ounces, and I think that's probably too much for me to take on. But I'm here at lunchtime, and they do have a mutton-based lunch special, which sounds quite interesting, so I might actually try that. Now, this place has been frequented over the years by the great and the good. Theodore Roosevelt's eating here, Babe Ruth. Someone's in a hurry. Who else? Albert Einstein has eaten here. And Greeno's going to eat here. Another prestigious name to add to the list. Now, what's cool about this place, in marking with the history of the building, this has been open since 1885, and back in the day people used to smoke a pipe after their meal, and they've kept most of those pipes, and they're displayed on the ceilings and everywhere, and they actually got some of the ones from those famous people too. So there's something like 50,000 pipes on display in this building. Mad. No one will be adding to that anymore though, because you're not allowed to smoke anymore, are you? So anyway, I digress. Get inside and find out what it's all about, shall we? Fancy a bit of mutton. Right, and folks, I've come in and been seated, and I've got to say, this is a very atmospheric restaurant. I'm here just as they open, 11:45 for lunch service, but it's dark in here, very low lighting, as you can see. Can't really see me that well. So, what is the deal here? Well, I'm given some menus here. This one is the lunch menu. I'll show you on screen to give it a bit more detail. But they have the lunch specials here, and I think that's where I'm going to focus my attention. They have a lobster bisque on there, which I quite fancy as a starter. And they also have that taste of mutton, which I think might be more suitable for lunchtime than that big mutton chop. There is also a list of wines by the glass here. Maybe I'll treat myself to a nice glass of red or something to go with that mutton. But yeah, I like it in here. Let's say you've got all these pipes all over the roof. There's a suit of armour just across the way. Photos around, old documents, that kind of thing. Just give it a real kind of old world charm. Right then folks, so I have now placed my order. For a drink, I've gone with their freshly made ginger ale. Now apparently this is made with a ginger syrup that's manufactured here on site from fresh ginger. They add some of that to some club soda to make this freshly made ginger ale. So I really like the sound of that. Food wise, I decided to start with a lobster bisque. Now I really like that. That should be nice and creamy with a little bit of brandy in there. The waiter who's serving me said it's actually quite a filling dish, which is surprising for a soup, isn't it? But so maybe it's a nice thick, rich one. And I have gone with that taste of mutton as my main dish. I'm having that cooked medium rare. According to the waiter's recommendation, what the chef suggests is that you have your mutton cooked the same way you'd have a steak cooked. Now, depending on the cut of steak, I would go for somewhere between medium rare and rare, so I've erred on the side of caution a little bit and gone for medium rare. Oh wow, perfect. Thank you so much.
You're welcome. There you go, sir.
Very kind, thank you. Wow, that did not take long. I was too busy reading the history on the back to actually explain what I'd done on the menu, and my lobster bisque has already turned up. It just took a few minutes. They obviously just heated this up in the kitchen. Come and have a look at it. It's really good looking. Right then folks, this soup looks delicious. I also have the ginger ale here. So let's give that a little try before we get into the soup. Very nice and refreshing that. Quite sweet. A little bit of lime here as well, so we'll get a squeeze of that going in there. There we go, look at that. Lovely. Okay, now, even though I'm here really early, the restaurant is starting to busy up a little bit. There are a few customers coming in at this early stage. And again, before I get into the soup, I've got to apologise for the lighting on the video. It is very kind of dull lighting in here, so it's kind of hard to get the camera to pick things up properly. Anyway, onto the soup. I can see here it is a very, very thick soup. And there are bits in there which I'm going to guess are bits of lobster. The smell of it is really inviting. So, let's just get a big spoonful of it and give it a go. Oh, that is tasty. It is very thick. There are pieces of lobster meat in there. And obviously, they've used the shells and everything to make the base for the soup. You can taste a sort of background flavour of brandy in there, but obviously the shellfish is the overwhelming flavour. It's very, very rich, it's very indulgent, and I can see why the guy told me it was quite a filling bowl, because it is thick and rich and creamy and decadent. And like I said, there are pieces of lobster in there. So not only are you eating the soup, but then you're chewing on that lovely, sweet lobster meat. Oh, that's good. Now this is $16, I think, on the menu. So what's that? £12, I guess. I don't think that's expensive for a soup made from lobster. And with this kind of quality. Let's try the little bread that's been served at the table. Always a good accompaniment for a soup. Lovely and fresh. Nice and soft in the middle, crusty on the outside. Served with an unsalted butter. I like that. I like this more. Sat here eating this really classic recipe in this kind of dark room. You can sort of think back and imagine all of those famous names sitting here and eating. It's kind of interesting because being in New York so far and having spent so much time in London over the years, this is my first time in New York, I walked through it a lot this morning. And I gotta say, it kind of misses that kind of history that London has. Of course, it's a much younger city, isn't it? When you walk around London, there's history around every single corner. And here, obviously the streets are quite regimented, they're quite straight, in little blocks. And you don't get that many little surprises around. But coming into here, somewhere like this, that's been open for what, 140 years now? I'm just thinking of all those names of people who may have sat at this very table, eating this very soup. It's interesting, isn't it? It is interesting to wonder what's happened between these walls. Oh, wow, goodness, thank you very much.
This one has made mean jelly, your mutton chop.
Oh, that sounds good. You're very kind, thank you.
You're welcome.
Wow, and in no time at all, my taste of mutton has arrived here. This looks really good. Come and take a look. Here it is, the taste of mutton. And I gotta say, I'm impressed with this. The mutton chop is apparently a 26-ounce piece of meat. This is obviously not that, but it's a very, very decent looking piece of meat, a very good size. It's served with, I think they call this escarole, which is a vegetable a lot like bok choy, that kind of thing. So that's going to be a nice kind of cabbagey accompaniment. Cabbage and lamb is a great combination, isn't it? To go alongside it, we have this. In here, we have a homemade mint jelly. Now, back home in the UK, we have mint sauce, don't we? This, I'm guessing, is going to be a sweeter version of that. It kind of smells like toothpaste. But we'll put a little on the plate and see how it is. Obviously, mint sauce back in the UK is a vinegary kind of affair. This is going to be a little sweeter. So, before we go on to the main event, let's try this vegetable. It looks very nicely wilted down. There's a nice green colour to it. Not that you can see it much in this light, but... Quite heavily seasoned. A lot of salt on there. But it is tasty. It does taste a lot like bok choy. It's interesting the contrast of texture you get in there. Because the leaves, where they've been wilted down, as soft can be. But the stem still has more of a crunch. That is very interesting. Like I said, quite well seasoned. I did notice on the door outside, actually, when I was looking at the menu there, that it did say if you have any dietary requirements around salt, you should mention it to the team and they will adjust the menu accordingly. So I'm guessing they do decide to quite heavily salt some of their dishes, this being one of them. I don't mind that. Okay, let's get on to the main event, shall we? This mutton. So let's see how this cuts. There's a big bone there in the middle, so I'm going to cut around that. Obviously, what we have here, these kind of little flaps are going to be almost all fat. But with lamb, that's where a lot of the flavour is. Now, mutton, of course, for those of you who don't know, is lamb, but it's kind of older lamb. Anything that's over a year old, when it's slaughtered, is considered as mutton. And it has a richer, deeper taste than lamb does. Now, I don't know if you could see that there on camera, but this cut beautifully, almost like a fillet steak. This, I know it's a term that's overused by food reviewers, but that really is melt in the mouth. It's so soft, you barely need to chew it. You can see, or maybe you can't see, hopefully you can see here, the nice pink nature of this. Chefs at the Celtic Manor, take note. That is so soft, so juicy, but it's the flavour. It's all about the flavour. And it's all there. So, we're going to try it with a little bit of this mint jelly. Now, I'm a little unsure about this. Like I say, it does smell a little sweet and a little bit like toothpaste, so I'm not sure how this is going to work. It's okay. Would I prefer a British style mint sauce? I think I would. I like that vinegary note, particularly with lamb, because it cuts through that fattiness a touch, doesn't it? But it's not bad. It's not a bad accompaniment. But this mutton, sorry, I keep calling it lamb. Not lamb, it's mutton. It is the star. Let's take a piece of this fatty bit and see how the flavour of that is. That's deep and rich and delicious and gooey. Oh.
Is the mutton cooked to your liking, sir?
It's cooked perfectly. It's superb. Thank you very much. Excellent. See what I mean about the service there? Just came over to check that the mutton was cooked to my liking. I'm sure had it not have been, that would have been rectified. Oh, it couldn't be cooked better for me though. Could not be cooked better. Love it. Absolutely love it. Okay, I'm going to carry on and finish this up. Finish my ginger ale, more like ginger beer really to me. And we'll get the bill and we'll talk about it at the end. But this is one of those dishes, even though in somewhere reasonably refined, try and stop me picking up that bone and chewing on it at the end. You won't be able to. Right then folks, Keens Steakhouse. Oh, another little treat here in New York City. Really, really tasty. And a place you can really feel the history there. I was chatting with Sorin, my server, who's actually originally from Brasov in Romania. So we had a good chat about Romania as well. But he was telling me a little more about the history of the place. Apparently it started out as like a gentleman's smoking club as much as anything else, and people would check their pipes in and out as they went into the club. So that's where the history of all the pipes that are now on the ceiling came from. It's a really cool place though, really cool. Let's start talking about the food. The lobster bisque, $16 for that. Full of little pieces of lobster meat, rich, deep flavour, just really nice, really wholesome, relatively filling, as Sorin explained it would be. But yeah, very, very good. Then we had the mutton, the taste of mutton dish. Now this is like a lunchtime version of their mutton chop. The one you get in the evening is twice the size apparently. Too much for a lunch dish, definitely. But the flavour and the cookery on it were just out of this world. Really good. The escarole that went with it is quite a nice accompaniment. You would have to mention if you don't like salt that much, because you know, as we know, I'm a big fan of seasoning of things, and for me, as I went through it, it did feel a little over seasoned, but it was still a good dish. And I had the ginger ale, which I think was more like a ginger beer than a ginger ale really. That was just $7. I think that's fine. A total of $55. Of course, you get a sales tax on top of that. $4.88, so the total $59.88. I did leave a 20% tip for Sorin, $11, because I think he deserved it. He was really good, really good. So, in total, how much did I pay? Including the tip, $70.88, which is what, £55? Now, is that a lot of money for a lunch? I suppose so, yes. 2 courses and a soft drink, but blimey, they were good. Yes, yes. Now, a score. Where do I score this? Like I say, I think the vegetable side was a little over seasoned, so I have to take that into account. And it's not cheap. Not crazy money, but not cheap. The service, as I said, was exceptional. The room, I know it's the way it's designed, but it just felt a little dark for lunchtime, if you know what I mean. It would have been better to be a little lighter. I just turned the lights up a bit. It's fairly simple. You know, evening, fine. If you want that sort of dimmer light, at lunchtime, just lighten it up a touch. But, I mean, I still got to say, about a 4.4 out of 5, I think. 4.4. I think that's fair. Really enjoyable. Would I go back there again? Yes, I would. Does it get Greeno's green light? Yes, it does. Definitely a green light, and like I say, I would go back again. Really enjoyed it. So if you've enjoyed this video looking at Keens Steakhouse, I'd say just a couple of blocks away from the Empire State Building here in Manhattan, then don't forget, click a thumbs up on there for me, it does help the channel. And if you're new around here and you've enjoyed this video, check out the New York playlist, check out some more of the content, and if you like it, click the subscribe button, ding your bell for notifications, all that good stuff. Right, where to next? Well, it's a beautiful sunny day here in Manhattan, so I think I'm going for a long walk. I'll see you on the next one, folks.